Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This podcast slightly more fit than Jofra Archer's elbow at the moment. Today we've got England coaching changes, IPL updates, retirements, and county cricket round 6, as well as touching on our very controversial county cricket power rankings. I'm Rob. This is Rich. Welcome to the podcast.
How are we going, Rob? What's going on?
We're going great, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, very well, mate. Very well. Up and at it, ready to talk some cricket. England squad gets announced tomorrow, so I'm really giddy about that. I want to talk about that at some point, but we can't talk about it today because it hasn't happened.
Well, we're ahead of the game. We've done our 17-man squad that we think or we would want to see. It'll be interesting to see how many of our players kind of get picked up in that. If you haven't checked out that video, please do so. YouTube guys listening, watching, link above my head, just up here. You said, ooh, ooh. It should be up there for you guys to go and listen to. If you are brand new around here and you're finding us for the first time, make sure you leave a subscribe, guys. Plenty of cricket content coming to you every single week. Mine and Rich's pretty faces going on YouTube. Leave a like. And Rich, before we crack into England news, we've got to start off on it. Rich Watch, did we have a game of cricket?
Yes, unbelievably. Rain was forecast for the whole day. I woke up thinking it's going to rain. It hadn't rained yet. We got to the ground. It hadn't rained yet. It started raining just as we got there. But we got a game in. It's unbelievable. We did a 32-over game, reduced it down, but we didn't go off at any point. Even though at tea, I turned around going, oh, I've played down here for years. I know this ground. The weather comes from there. I think we're going to be fine. And as I looked up, it started raining and the rain was coming from a different direction. I don't embarrass me like this weather.
It's done you. Bill's mother's was all right.
Exactly. It wasn't following the trends. But yeah, so we got a game in. We got a 20-point win for the second team I played for, the Newark R&M. And I got none. I didn't trouble the scorer. So I went in at 3 down for not many, and I came out of 4 down for not many. So
what happened? What happened? Talk me through it.
Well, I mean, you go in 3 down, you've got to blame it. You play a different way, don't you? You have to try and steady the ship. And played round 1. Simple. Got bowled on my leg stump. How do you get bowled on your leg stump? Right arm over, bowled on my leg stump. Wow. Not happy. But never mind. It was even worse that. No, done with that. I was fancying a bit of it, but no, done with that. I wasn't a big fan, though, of being told by one of the the non-playing opening batsmen I played against, who basically turned around as I was about to walk off saying, oh, you set him up. It's like, he's not that good. He's not that good.
Just missed one on my legs, mate.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Anyway, that's moving on.
Excellent. Let's move on to what potentially might be some pretty big news coming out of the England camp about Chris Silverwood's role and potential splitting of paths.
I think this is really sensible. They did something similar last summer, but obviously in the bubble world we live in, don't want to say that word anymore soon, but in advance of the test squad being announced this week, as we said, it's going to be tomorrow. It's been confirmed that Chris Silverwood will hand over the reins to Paul Collingwood and Graham Thorpe for the Sri Lanka and Pakistan ODI series that follows on from the New Zealand Test series. So, like I say, Silverwood skipped last summer's T20 against Pakistan. Sensible. And this is another attempt, obviously, by the ECB and the management to just give players, staff, etc., and coaches time off in this hectic and very uncharted period. So he claims he's not operating at 100%, Silverwood, and it's not fair on himself or his players. So with the added responsibility of selection, this is sensible and well-timed break.
I like it. I've always been someone that kind of likes specialists in specialist areas. You get someone that oversees it, but the games are so different these days. It's not just picking your best players in the country to play every single format. It's not the 1990s. An Atherton opening the batting for England in one-day cricket.
What's the 90s do to you? Jeez, man. A lot. 90s was a great decade. I could bringing heat on it.
I can remember being on holiday, 1999 Cricket World Cup, wearing my blue England cricket shirt with pride, 14 years old, getting ripped apart by a load of drunken Scottish people telling me I was sick and England are rubbish. And I was like, they're not rubbish. Angus Fraser plays.
I think they were rubbish that tournament, though, weren't they?
They were terrible, mate. Absolutely horrendous. I like individuality around coaching, around specific things, like the guys that coach in the IPL. They're guys that's brought in to do a job, set format. I'd like England to continue to follow this trend. I think it's a good thing. And I don't know your thoughts, but there's so much talk over the last year about protection of players from bubbles and fatigue. Why can't Chris Silverwood cry out and go, hey, I'm kind of sinking here by myself, mate. I need some assistance.
Yeah, I think, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I think we're only really just getting into the real start of the Chris Silverwood era. Obviously, he's been coached for a little while now. Now he's been given that head coach and selector role as well. So I think it's good to have that one single voice. However, with the world we've been living in, when there are these little standalone series, which it's not like going to the Australia playing the Ashes Test series and ODIs and T20. This is just Sri Lanka and Pakistan. No disrespect to them, but it's just a very, very little standalone, few games here and there, getting ready for some cricket later on in the year. So when it's that situation, then it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I mean, who knows what Collingwood and Thorpe see themselves as? They might see themselves as they want to coach red ball cricket. But for the time being, it's a great way for them to patronisingly cut their teeth. They're great coaches already, I'm sure, but get a bit more experience of leading a group, leading a team at international level, even though they would have done that, obviously, and played a lot of tests when they were playing. So, yeah, definite merits for what they're doing now. Whether or not this become a splitting off of the two. Maybe it's a bit of a job interview. Maybe they do want that, and maybe it's one of Collingwood and Thorpe, and whoever does better gets the job. So, hey, who knows? But it's sensible for now, isn't it? Silverwood obviously will still be in charge of the Test series against New Zealand, and he'll also be back in charge of the India Test series, as well as all the T20s that go with that. And obviously, no doubt, he'll be involved in selection, even if it's from his little Norfolk cottage that apparently his wife's booked for him. We bring you all the news.
All the news, straight from his Instagram stories.
Looking over through his fence, through his windows. How's it going?
Before the next one, I've got to check, because I've taken the mick out of Jofra Archer's elbow. Have you got any injuries after getting a duck and not bowling in that first week? Because if you have, we've got problems.
Unbelievably not. I felt really good. I don't bowl anymore because of my dodgy knee. Well, it's not dodgy, I just had an operation and it's crap. But no, I felt good. I actually was wandering around the outfield going, I actually fancy a bowl. And it's like, no, stop it. So still a bit achy the next day, but I haven't really played for 2 years. So what do you expect? But no, elbows good. 2 elbows, all good.
That's not a bad thing, mate. I'll take one because I probably haven't got anything at all. So even my banter wouldn't be on his level, mate. But Jofra Archer news, he came back. He's played a bit of cricket.
He was exceptional. I was watching the live stream and he opened the bowling uphill, probably into the wind at Sussex. And it is a hill. It's probably worse than, was it Hucknall? He was playing, that was a good
remember
hill.
that.
So, yeah, he looked really, really sharp. Took 2 early wickets, dismissed Zach Crawley and Daniel Bell-Drummond, our big friend Daniel Bell-Drummond. And fine, looked good, looked really, really good. But then he was fiddling with his elbow a little bit. And as the course of the game's gone on, he's got soreness in his elbow. There's a bit of confusion in the second innings whether he should bowl. He did bowl a few overs, but then he wasn't able to bowl on the final day or the last section of the game. So after consultation with ECB, obviously that occurred, that no more bowling. And now he's been ruled out. That's it. He may need more surgery. They're not sure at the moment, but he's certainly not going to be involved in the New Zealand squad. Bad news for him. It's one of those where if it's just a little niggle here and there, then it's not too bad. But when it's a recurring issue on the same piece of your body or part of your body, it's a worry. It's a really worry for the long term as well. Is this going to be a chronic issue? Is it going to be something they have to manage? We've had it too many times. We see the quick bowlers come through and we get so excited. Remember Timmel Mills?
Yes.
Who came through. He played like an England Lions game against England. I don't know what game it was, but I remember him pinning Graham Swan in the face or in the lid, and he looked rapid with a red ball. And it was so exciting. But then obviously he had some issues and he ended up just having to play T20, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want Jofra Archer to go this way because Jofra Archer for me is a red ball cricketer and a test match cricketer, and he's a great, great player. So that's fingers crossed that he can recover. Just a quick one on the New Zealand England squad for the New Zealand Test as well. As I predicted, back slapping going on here. They're not going to play the IPL players. So the return players, they're not going to be considered for these 2 tests against New Zealand. So no spot for Sam Curran, Josh Butler, Chris Wokes, Moeen Ali, or Johnny Bairstow, or Liam Livingston, or Tom Curran, or whoever else, Chris Jordan, whoever else came back from the IPL. So, yep, there you go.
You nailed it on the head, mate. So most of my 17-man squad that I put together is unavailable. I might need to go back to the well and copy yours on that one. Silly me. I should have guessed, but I was like, no, I'm going to work you to the bone. Get out there and play, son.
Play. Yes, never mind. I think it's sensible, though. I really do. I think any other year, it's get them on a nice first-class flight home, get yourself ready, unpack your suitcase, you're ready for some cricket. But now with the bubble fatigue, as we keep saying, which I believe I might have read something that I think they're banning the word bubble within the cricket setup. But I might have just dreamt that. But maybe it's a good idea regardless. But you can understand them just saying, take some time, feet up, have a net, relax, get yourself ready.
There's the thing about rolling back to the Jofra Archer piece, mate, that worries me is you look at a string of guys that can bowl, and you're talking like minuscule percentage of cricketers that's ever played cricket can bowl that fast.
Yes.
Tyrell Mills, rapid. Sean Tate, rapid, had to stop playing Test cricket. Shane Bond clocked at 97 mile an hour. One of the would have been up there with a Hadley in terms of quality, but career cut short because of injury. Different injuries, different people, different strokes, different folks, but it's got a worrying trend for bowlers that bowl on that level at the moment. Yeah. I'm really worried about Joff because we're mates.
Well, that's what Joff, a Joffo. This is where you get worried, though, isn't it? Because of how many fast bowlers you've seen over the years make a breakthrough and then stumble with injuries. And you just hope that, like I say, that it isn't a chronic issue, and it's certainly he can relatively easily overcome with maybe the surgery wasn't brilliant last time. Who knows? I'm not questioning anyone's integrity of surgery here, but maybe it just needed a little bit more of a tweak. But get the Hoover in there again, get some bits of bone out, whatever it is, get him fit, get him back out on that field as quick as possible. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know what the turnaround is at the moment, but hopefully he'll be fit and ready to go for the India Test series. But that might be me being optimistic. However, Joe Root has said this week that they're looking for the Test squad to peak for the Ashes. India is a big call over here. New Zealand's a big call over here, but the Ashes this winter is where it's at. Down under November through January, isn't it? That's when we want Jofra Archer firing and pinning those Aussie openers. Back in the old days, you know, the whole Harmison and Flintoff days of pinning opening Aussie batsmen.
Maybe not Harmison in Australia though. First ball.
No.
Not that Harmison.
No, that was the first cricket I saw in Australia quickly, and I wasn't out for the first test. And I remember sitting up, going, "This is going to be an amazing series. I can't wait for this. I'm going to be out there soon for the third and fourth test, or fourth and fifth test. Yeah, come on then." And then he hit second slip first ball, and it was like, we're going to get hammered.
Yeah. So. It were open, mate. Talking to players that might want to be part of that Australia series that's got a bit of work to do. Dom Sibley, this is almost the Dominic Sibley podcast. He gets his weekly mention.
He does. We'll have a little section. Can we have a jingle for him? Can we sort that out, please?
Sibley Show.
Well, maybe the section. I don't know if he's taking over the show. Jeez, come on, Dom. He rolls in here thinking he knows best. So, obviously, broken digit, second week of the season at Trent Bridge. He was close to a recall last week, but the game before against Worcestershire, but worries about fielding, etc. They then had a week off. So it was sensible to delay his recall. Now, he is going to play on the games that start on the 20th, which is in a couple of days' time. But he is currently playing as part of a second 11, which started yesterday against Essex at Chelmsford. No, not Essex. That's who he was playing in the first day. But he's playing a second 11 game. So it's one of those. The more I read at the moment, and it's usually those people have heard something, it does sound to me as if he will be in the squad. I think that's a strange one. I really do, because he's just not played any cricket, and it wasn't like he was on a convincing run, but it seems like he's got more credit in the bank than I thought he had. So good news that he'll be back playing, you know, he'll be fit playing. And yeah, we'll see what comes with the squad announcement later today.
Dominic Sibley, Wisdom Cricket of the Year, 1 of 5. That's got to be mentioned every podcast.
Only 5.
It's an interesting one. I picked him in my squad based on his golden summer, averaging 40 in English conditions, going, you know what, you've earned an opportunity to be the opener in England again. And we talked about his shortcomings in India. Terrible 134 runs, average 16. Very, very poor. Out of his last 12 innings, 10 of them have been below 20. It's like looking at my play cricket stats, mate. It's not ideal when you're looking at it. So there is, and again, it comes back to Joe Root going, pinnacle of this year, despite having New Zealand number 1, despite having India number 2, is going and playing the number 3 Aussies in Aussie, because that's the English way. The Ashes is held above anything else in Test match cricket, and it's not a knock on India, it's not a knock on New Zealand, it's just what we hold in the highest regard. And Joe Root, Chris Silverwood, they want to know if Dominic Sibley is going to open on Australia, so they're going to give him the 6 Test matches before Aussie, or however many they are. Right, you're our guy still. If he doesn't score runs against New Zealand in 2 Test matches, mate, they will look elsewhere.
Yeah. And I think that's probably fair, actually. I was probably being a little bit unfair on him. And I think I was looking at it from both sides. When you put it all together, the injury, the lack of cricket, the lack of scores, and the time between, whether or not he's going to play any cricket before the first test. That's where I was at. But, I could understand him being selected ahead of, for example, that other opener that I chucked in, which was in the end, I believe, was Alex Lees, wasn't it? But Hasib Hamid was mentioned. Hassan Azad was mentioned. Yeah. I'd still wouldn't surprise me if one of those guys get a call up, but we shall see. But fingers crossed that Sibley does make, if he does make the squad, that he plays well. It's simple as that. If they're playing for England, you want them to do well, unless there's one or two players over the years I've kind of hope get cleaned up first of all, but not many. Dom's not one of those, so go Dom.
Go Dom. You do you, Dom. Big series against the Black Caps. And
yes, big news.
One of the all-time great wicket-keeper batsmen, a genuine batsman, genuine wicket-keeper, has taken his last bow in Test cricket.
Absolutely. Anytime we can get a crowbar a mention of Adam Perore into a podcast, we'll do it. They're the names we live for. But big news.
I once took a ferry with Adam Perore.
Wow.
Yep, that's it. He didn't know I was on it.
I'd love to make you a T-shirt for that. I once took a ferry with Adam Perore.
Someone.
That's it.
I can't remember exactly who it was. Someone turned around and went, "It's Adam Perore." I was like, "No way!" just marking out. It's Adam Perore.
New Zealand celebs. Oh, sweet ass. So the big news, though, we're talking about Adam Perore as if it's the Adam Perore show. BJ Watling, that's the news, Rob. So we've got two big retirements this week. The first one directly linked to the upcoming New Zealand Test series, and it is BJ Watling, the Kiwi keeper batsman, is hanging up his gloves following the England Test. The 35-year-old mainstay of the team since his inclusion back in 2009 as an opening bat, but he ends as arguably the best keeper batsman in New Zealand history. Sorry, Adam. Number of Test records to his name from his 73 Test caps. If he plays all three of the Tests over in England, 2 against England, 1 against India in the World Test Championship final, he will surpass his Kiwi legend Adam Perore as the most capped player in New Zealand history with 67. So we know those two numbers don't match, but he did play a few as a batsman, so that's where that goes. It's big news. I think he had to push it forward because they were announcing the central contracts, weren't they?
Yes.
Just before this, and obviously it would have been a strange omission, so he had to get ahead of the news and just make his announcement.
Yeah, no, fair play to BJ Watling. He's been around the scene for a hell of a long time. For those that don't know, he's a South African-born player, but grew up in New Zealand. He moved across and lived down in Hamilton Way since he was about 10 years old, went to Hamilton Boys High School. Chris Cougarline, who played for the Black Caps, was his coach back at Hamilton High School Boys, where rugby's probably more important. But Chris's son is Scott Cougarline, who you will see in the news, played in the IPL, played some T20 cricket, a few issues around that, but not taken away from BJ Watling, incredible cricketer. 3,381 runs, an average just shy of 40. It's like that Alex Stewart kind of, are you 39, are you 40, kind of getting towards the end of the career. So every chance he can get across the line. 7 centuries, 25 50s, and 257 dismissals, which puts him 9th all time for wicket keepers in the history of Test cricket. That is serious categories to be talked about.
Absolutely, and not just those categories, but those, the most runs, highest average, most hundreds, most 50s, most dismissals. The numbers Rob's just said are the records held by Watling as a test wicketkeeper for New Zealand. So he holds the set, basically.
Yeah,
that's it. He is the best keeper batsman that New Zealand have had. Again, Sorry, Adam. Those most runs and highest average as well. To give him context as well for people that are thinking, it's pretty good, but it's New Zealand. Don't be just thinking that, but maybe one or two of you are. Since the turn of the century, only Adam Gilchrist and Matt Pryor have scored more runs at a higher average as a keeper than Watling has in Test cricket. So give him his place.
Yeah, class. Averages more than Dhoni, mate. That's your yardstick. Averages more than Dhoni in Test cricket.
Nice.
And centuries.
Yeah, just to round it off as well, he also currently shares the records for highest 4th and 5th wicket partnership for New Zealand in Test history as well. They're still in the book, I believe. The 5th wicket with Kane Williamson, and the 4th, I can't remember who it was. I'm going to just say Ross Taylor, but it probably isn't. But
it'd be Ross Taylor or Kane Williamson, one of them.
Exactly. So England fans will. He will. He will. I mean, England fans obviously will get to see him again in a couple of tests this coming month, but they'll also fondly, maybe not fondly, remember his big double century man of the match performance he hit against them in, let me say this right, Mount Maunganui?
Close, Maunganui.
Maunganui in 2019. And I'm sure he'll be hoping to add to his 800, 7 as a keeper, but his 800s before finally calling it a day.
Class act, mate. Class act. Talking of class acts, one of the finest T20 bowlers of maybe of all time.
Yeah, with the lefty Harry Gurney, Notts bowler. It's sad that it's end of the cricketing road for him. The Notts an ex-England seamer, started at Leicestershire. He's sadly had to call it a day at the age of 34 after failing to overcome a shoulder injury that meant he missed Notts T20 Blast success last summer. Obviously, he was on a white ball contract last year or so, but yeah, it's a big shame for him. I mean, he was one of those players that, Notts get a lot of criticism, don't they, for picking up players from other counties. And he followed that well-trodden path, the likes of Stuart Broad and James Taylor, came across from Leicestershire to Trent Bridge and really kind of grew as a player. Success, one-day wins 2013 and 2017 for Notts, and also T20 Blast success in 2017. Decent, I mean, white ball player. He's played all the way around the world, but a first-class career still. 103 games, 310 wickets at 30. I'll be honest, I thought those stats would be a little bit higher, like, more games, more wickets, considering his career. But it just shows you how much white ball he has played, though. And he's, just to round things off as well, he was an England international. He played 10 ODIs and T20s, all in 2014. And then he's had great success traveling the world, plying his trade in T20 competitions with trophy-winning stints at the Melbourne Renegades in the Big Bash, Barbados Tridents in the CPL. And he's also spent a bit of time in the IPL with Kolkata Knight Riders and the PSL with Quetta Gladiators. So a really good career. Sad he's calling it a day, but I think from a Notts perspective, it's as nice it would be to have him around. It opens up a spot for one of the younger players, and that's exactly what Notts should be focusing on. But a really good career for Harry Gurney. And good luck to him.
Yep, absolute class. The man nicknamed Mr. Bean by Mark Waugh for how he looked back when he was playing in the Big Bash, mate. Class nickname that. But for a period, probably from about 2006 to 2019, mate, probably the best white ball swing opening bowler in the world and bowling at the death. PSL, IPL, T10 contract, Big Bash contract, been there, done it, got the T-shirt. And you got to say, damn well unlucky not to be part of that England setup again after those initial stints in 2014, mate, because he was, wherever he went, a little bit Dan Christian-esque, that wherever he went, there were trophies and competitions and being right in the mixer, and he's going to be sorely missed. When you're watching the Vitality T20 Blast, he is a star name when you're watching the TV for me. He's class. He was absolutely class.
He got in control of his skills, didn't he, towards the end of his career? Every bowler goes through that period where they're working hard and then they get to a point where it's automatic. And he got that. He finishes, looking at his T20 career, 156 appearances, 190 wickets at an average of 22.58, which is very handy, and an economy of under 8, 7.84 quality. Yeah, so good luck to him. Talking of IPL, as we just have, BCCI have ruled out India hosting any of the rescheduled remaining IPL games. Sourav Ganguly basically confirmed it will not be in India. They're still eager to finish the competition at some point, but it's not going to happen there. As we mentioned, UAE and Sri Lanka are both options, and a September resumption is still the best bet, although apparently England could also become an option. But there are plenty of hurdles, obviously, to overcome. It would make sense, wouldn't it, if you think about it? You've got an India test side, you've got an India test setup over here.
Yeah.
Why not bring the competition over here? I don't know how it'd work or where it would do it, but that's England should be bringing fans in by then as well.
Yeah.
There's obviously there's a big cricket following in this country, obviously, but there's also a big Indian cricket following as well in this country. So, I mean, what a great idea that would be if somebody could pull that off. That sounds like money in the bank to me.
It does to me, but if I'm the ECB and I'm going, I've got this brand new product that I want to put out there, that I want to push, that I want to be better than the IPL, the 100, and I'm bringing in what is essentially its probably highest competitor that they can see. It's almost like, one, you're going to gain a whole shed load of cash coming through the door. That's great. But two, are you diminishing the 100 by bringing the IPL into England at the wrong time? Any other year, it probably would have been amazing.
Possibly, but the 100 will be done and dusted by then. The 100's come and gone. If the 100 was ahead of it, then I would say you protect your idea. But the 100 is going to be July, I think. So that's going to be come and gone. So if we're saying September, it'll be into September, because I think the last test finishes start of September against India. So I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? I still think they should look after the neighbours. Sri Lanka have been kind enough to ask. You should just be polite and say, yes, thank you. That's lovely.
Politeness. Australia.
Politeness. Oh, well, I mean, that's a perfect link, isn't it? Our second favourite Antipodean friends. So we have to say that with a Kiwi on the pod. So, yeah, a few notes of my friends down under as we're building up, obviously, to that Ashes winter. That word, the Ashes word, is going to be used more and more as we get deeper into this season. Firstly, reports have surfaced that Australia will host their very first test match versus Afghanistan in a one-off test as a warm-up before the Ashes. Games expected to be played in Hobart in November, obviously prior to that first test that is always played at the Gabba, usually around the 26th-ish of November. I think they did have one in the diary before, but it had to get cancelled. But this is amazing. Great for Afghanistan and also pretty cool for Australia as well.
Yeah, it is. It's great for world cricket, mate. Everyone's a winner. Everyone wants to see Afghanistan because Afghanistan's unique compared to a lot of the other minnows around it. They genuinely have world-class players, some world-class players. But what they've not been given is access to playing Test cricket and developing Test cricket skills. So everyone wants to go and see them play against the best. And you know what? They might get trounced, but it's opportunity and it's exposure for the game and for Afghanistan and for those world-class players that the world wants to see play Test cricket.
Yep, cool. Okay, so second little bit in the Australian news, and I have to have a bit of snark with this every week, but you'll be pleased to know, everybody, that the doing it tough Aussies who all had to decamp to the Maldives prior to them being allowed to return to the COVID-free on their way home to Australia, they're now on their way, Rob. Yay. They're on their way. They've done their time in the Maldives, bless them. You know, pray for Australia. So they're on their way back. BCCI chartered flight ahead to Sydney via stop in Perth, and the players, coaches, and other staff will all need to go through their hotel quarantine before being allowed back into the general population. Good on you, Aussies. Good on you.
Maldives aside, I bet they can't wait to get home, mate.
I know. It's snark, mate. I mean, I'm just jealous because I'm just sat here in rainy England. I just love the sound of quarantine in the Maldives, but those boys have been out and about.
It does sound amazing.
Big news this week. Guardian got an interview with Cam Bancroft, who's recently arrived to play for Durham. Really interesting things to say about the old sandpaper gate. We don't like digging this up much.
Sanding it off.
So, as you'll recall, we'll just give a very quick recap, but Cam Bancroft was banned for 9 months for being the sandpaperer. And he spoke openly about his experience in this article. He's now said he feels almost grateful for the mistake as it's turned him into a much better and more reflective person. It's a tough one as well. It's a bit of a tough read because he was obviously the up-and-coming younger player, wasn't he? It was David Warner, it was Steve Smith that were really the ones, well, we have to say encouraging because they were both banned for their part of it. But the fact that he cites that his first inning knock in that very same Cape Town test match as his best of his 10 caps, best of his innings in his 10 caps, shows what an error of judgment it was. He was just finding his feet in Test cricket before he was banned. I'll give you a quote or two, Rob, and then give us what you've got. But this is a really telling one for me. He says, I invested too much to the point where I lost control of my values. What had become important to me was being liked, being well valued, feeling really important to my teammates, like I was contributing something by using sandpaper on a cricket ball. That's something I don't even think I even understood until that mistake happened. But it's part of the journey and a hard lesson I needed to learn. Okay, so let's look at that first, and then there's the big bit we'll bring in afterwards.
Him saying that now is exactly how he would have felt when it came out, because he would have been right in the mixer of these big personalities, and the Australian mentality was so dog eat dog during that period, and they were a horrendous team to probably play against, but two to watch on TV. They were vile at times, and he's just the ball boy that's got caught up in it, and actually now he's got time to sit back and reflect and go, that ain't me, that isn't. He's probably a nice bloke, probably a great bloke, and he just got caught up in the mixer of trying to be with those people. It's like having no money and going to the races and trying to live up with a load of millionaires and throwing you 20 quids in, and you're like, oh, I've not really got that 20 quid to spend today, but you've gone and done it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. He certainly got caught up in it. I mean, he's obviously accepted responsibility for his action. He understands how bad it was, how bad it looked on him, on Australia, and on cricket in general. But it's clear from the way he's reflected on this that he wasn't the guy that said, hey lads, I've got a bit of sandpaper, shall I use it? There's no way in the world he was. We can easily say here that Smith and Warner was involved in that decision. But the big part of it was the question that was put to him by the Guardian reporter was really what, at least some of the bowlers surely knew what you were doing. And his response, I'll, read verbatim first, but was, yeah, look, all I want, of course he said, yeah, look.
Oh, yeah, look.
Sorry, it's my favourite start to an Aussie conversation. Ever listen to Ricky Ponting? Every reply to every question, oh, look. Oh. But anyway, sorry, Aussie. So, yeah, look, all I wanted to do was be responsible and accountable for my own actions. In part, obviously what I did benefits bowlers, and the awareness around that probably is self-explanatory. Yeah. So as I say, in response to that, bowlers surely knew. His response when probed again was, it's probably self-explanatory, meaning they knew what was going on.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's quite an innocent comment going, you guys aren't daft. Like, you all know this. And what is going to be good is it probably going to turn open a new page to kind of look into what was going on, potentially more people being called out for what was going on. There's no way in a small changing room environment, if someone's got the Mr. Sheen out polishing the ball in the corner or the sandpaper or whatever, that no one else is aware of what's going on. Everyone's bloody aware what's going on in the changing room. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's not trying to hold all 11 responsible. But, I was saying this the other day, if someone had chucked the ball to me when I was bowling and I looked at it and one side looked like it had been scraped along the car park, I'd be going, what the hell's happened to the ball? I'd be asking the question if I didn't know anything about it. Obviously, crap, I didn't realise we were trying to tamper the ball. But I would be like, what the hell? Look after the ball, lads. You'd be saying something. So they knew, it's simple as that. And this whole, the holier than thou response from Cricket Australia, deep, root and branch review probably that they did. They clearly didn't. It's one of those, isn't it? It's like they didn't look hard. They went with the ones they could go, and there were some big names that they took down, with Warner and Smith. Obviously, that didn't help Australia, but they had to do something. They had to be seen to be doing something. But the likes of Mitch Starc and others, they clearly knew what was going on, you would imagine. Yeah. But this hopefully Cricket Australia officers are, open, and the phones are ringing, and the panic's going on a little bit here, because it was never properly looked into. I don't think. And maybe this just opens it up. I'm sure his intention wasn't to get anybody else in trouble, but he was honest and open about this. And he has to be. This is his story, isn't it? He's been impacted by it. So it's good for his health to be as honest and open about it as he can. He's done a lot to turn himself and his life around, apparently. He's done a lot of good things in the community. And it's just one of those things, isn't it? He'll kick off the season in the upcoming game for Durham at Derby this week. So he's ready for some cricket. He's had a rough go in Australia, rough go in even in county cricket of the year or so afterwards. Oh, sorry, test matches over here, wasn't it? He got absolutely heaps, didn't he? Walking to the crease, etc. Yes. So, but the last year or so, he started to play some much better cricket, and he'll be hoping to get himself deep in the runs at Durham as quickly as possible.
Good on him. And talking of Durham, you're segueing like a boss today, son. We've got a bit of a county cricket round 6 roundup, and Durham even played one of the 2 games in Group 1. So that's just a segue of all segues.
They did. And why don't we just make use of that segue and let's get straight into it. So Group 1, Rob, Durham against Worcestershire. Durham, massive win. Won by 258 runs. Huge win for the host, but it's going to be largely remembered as the game Durham legend Chris Rushworth overtook Graham Onions to become the leading wicket taker for Durham in first-class cricket. Moment came in the second innings with a dismissal of Jack Haynes' 528th wicket. Congratulations to him. Legend of a player. Obviously, he deserves all the accolades and all the backslapping he's going to get. Durham have got themselves quietly a very, very good team. A seam attack of Bryden Cast, a young up-and-comer, Ben Rain and Mark Wood, alongside Rushworth, and led by Rushworth, obviously, is a huge part of their success this year. But also in this game, a first innings 99 from England hopeful Alex Lees and a second innings 100 from Kiwi Will Young and Jack Burnham show that both sides of the ball are stepping up for Durham. Run of 5 draws for Worcester so far this season in the 5 games, and a first defeat for them for this one.
Mate, great for Durham. They're unbeaten in the last 3. They've won the last 2, climbing the way up the league. Won 2 out of 5 games they've played, 40%. Will Young's had a really good stint at the club. He's going to be happy to get, I think it's his second 100, 278 runs at 39. Off to the Black Caps, go and spend some time in a hotel while everyone else is quarantining, I think, or doing something along those lines. But Durham are peaking at the right time in the right group. Because the group is so tight, they're giving themselves an opportunity. Their 38.36 batting average is the best in county cricket. Take that alongside their bowling, which is absolutely phenomenal and is the lowest bowling average in county cricket with 24.21. They are end-to-end bookmarking some of the big stats you want to cover off as a team, and they're doing it superbly.
Absolutely, Rob. I mean, Rushworth, go back to him for a second, 9 wickets in the game. It wasn't just that he got 1 wicket in the game and that broke Bunny Onion's record. He got 9 in the game. But that attack as well. Mark Wood, 4 wickets in the game. Bryden Carr's 4 wickets in the game. Ben Raines chipping in there as well. They've got a barrage of seamers steaming in. They've got the batters that are starting to make runs. Ned Eckersley in the second innings to set up the win. 86 off 57 balls. He went absolutely, whatever the word might be.
Kicked on.
He kicked on. And Bryden Carr as well in the first innings, a 38 not out. There's some good cricketers developing again. Durham have had a couple of dark years, haven't they? They've always developed good players. But the money issues, both from came in as chairman or whatever his role is, and they had to really strip back and rebuild. And they're starting to reap the benefits of that and looking pretty good. They're going up to, Notts went top last week, and Durham played the same games as Notts now. 73 points. They're joint second with Notts. So really, really impressive turnaround for Durham. They're just quietly going about the business and starting to kick on.
What about Worcester, mate? Worcester unbeaten on the season. Sorry, were unbeaten on the season until this game. Drew 4, lost 1. We'd spoke about them. We'd spoke about how strong their batting was. Jake Libby has been a leading light for these guys. But one of the issues is here, he hasn't gone on and made a big score. And that's not a detriment to him. He's had a fantastic season, but he scores 22% of that team's runs. When he doesn't go and make 50, they have put up this kind of performance, and you back that up with the second worst bowling attack in the league, averaging 47. This is probably why we've never been able to go all in on Worcester, even though they've scored so many runs so often.
Yeah, people have made starts in this game. Tom fell 44, Darryl Musson 62, Jake Libby 36. It's not enough, is it? In one of those innings, they're the top scorers. One of those guys needs to go on and make a bigger score. It's simple as that. Durham did it, 2 centuries in the second innings and in 99 in the first innings. That's the difference in this game. It was 5 draws and 1 defeat. So they're struggling. They're only 3 points behind Durham, but with played 1 game extra. I think they'll be happy that Derbyshire are in this group. That's all I'll say at the minute for Worcestershire. I think they're slipping. I think they're a team that have got some good potential, but they're slipping. One thing we have said recently, though, the last thing I'll say on this game is that we said one of their bowlers needs to step up. Well, Josh Tong, he got himself 7 wickets in this game. So he certainly did do that, including 5 for 39 in the Durham first innings.
Good on him. And it is a good job they've got Derbyshire in this group, because Derbyshire are on a pretty horrendous run and they've had another horrendous week.
It's not been good, but Essex have had a much, much better week after some really difficult games of late. But Essex, Derbyshire, Essex won by an innings and 15 runs. And then this innings win was set up by a really, really bold and early declaration in a rain-affected game, and obviously rain-affected round of games. Anyone in England will be able to agree with that. Dan Lawrence is on prime form as he's ready to go and play for England. But he starred in their only innings for Essex with an unbeaten 152, which included a rapid acceleration up to that 152, with Matt Critchley, April's Player of the Month, leggy for Derbyshire, being on the wrong end of some massive hitting. I think it was the last 4 balls, or about 4 balls, were pretty much went for 6 against Critchley. So Lawrence is looking really, really good. With the ball, Derbyshire was destroyed by that man that we have to mention every week, Simon Harbour. He took 9 for 80. It's getting to the point where these massive wicket-taking innings aren't as astounding. We've had Ollie Robinson take 9 for. We've had players take 8 for, 7 for. It's been a crazy summer for people taking big wickets. And Simon Harbour does it yet again. He got a further 3 wickets in the second innings to record his 7th 10-wicket haul in county cricket, ending the game with 12 for 202. As for Derbyshire, top and middle order resistance in the second innings included a maiden half century for Brooke Guest, finally broken down by Jamie Porter and little chef Sam Cook, alongside obviously wicket machine Simon Harbour. Derbyshire not big fans of playing Essex, Rob, as this was their 4th innings defeat to them in the last 5 meetings.
Oh, that's rough to take. But what isn't rough to take is scoring big runs, and when you score big runs. England selection right around the corner. Dan Lawrence, one of those guys you'd expect to be in the 17, but he's in fine fettle, possibly the finest form out of any England batsman in county cricket, getting it done, 481 runs, average of 60, strike rate of almost 63, and he's doing it in style. I read a fantastic article in the Wisdom magazine about Dan Lawrence, and he's such a down-to-earth, all right, mate, Essex sort of guy. And one of the things he said, he was talking about Kohli giving him a bit of banter while he was batting in India, and he was talking about the presence that Kohli has, and he goes, oh, it's pretty good that he wanted to take a crack at me because I was trying to smack their good bowlers around. And he was talking about the England team, and he's like, oh yeah, with Root, Broad, Anderson, they've all got a great presence, a huge amount of mana around the room. But they're just like everyone else. They've got an arsehole like me, so they're no different, are they? I was like, that's the sort of guy that can go out there and play free-wheeled. We spoke about him. Has he got the right technique for number 3, the right temperament? But it sounds like he's got the right attitude to just block everything out and go and play his own game. And this innings was exactly that. He was butchering attacks. He hit a one-kneed helicopter shot down the ground for 4 and 6 and landed down on the ground. Absolute class, mate. I've just fallen in love with the bloke.
Yeah, he's got something about him, hasn't he? Like we said before, he's batting at 4 for Essex. So it's not a massive leap, is it, for him to go and bat at 3 for England if required? And I wonder if that might be where he's looking. But he could go 2 ways as a cricketer at the moment, couldn't he? He's a young fella. He could go to that number 3, or he could become more of a power hitter and drop down to maybe 5 or 6. And, or maybe not 6, but maybe let's say 5. And someone like a Pope goes up the order. But we shall see. That's all for the future. But in this game, Alistair Cook and Nick Brown both hit half centuries opening. Tom Wesley, 106 at 3. Lawrence, obviously, is 152 not out at 4. And there was another not out, obviously, down there. But only 3 wickets fell in the 412 declared. Matt Critchley got some hammer, 1 for 87. And just finishing off on Lawrence as well, 1 for 20. He was the man that deprived Simon Harmer. So he's not all good, Rob. He's not all good.
Yeah, he is chucking himself in with a few overs as well, but a superb performance. Derbyshire woes, they're going to Group 3, no 2 ways about it. Difficult group, a lot of half-decent teams and some good teams thrown into the mixer, but the bowling average of 37, fourth worst in the whole of the county championship. That's just, it's not going to cut it. One thing to note about Essex, and we spoke about in the last few weeks going, well, they got bowled out for 100 here, they got bowled out for 100 there, and they're all or nothing. They've actually scored the most runs in county cricket despite having 2 scores below 100 and getting rolled, mate. So when they score really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're top of Group 1 now, 76 points. 1-2, lost 2, drawn 2. A nice balanced record so far. Notts and Durham in second place, Worcester a little bit behind, and then Warwickshire only played 5 games, 6-7, and Derbyshire on 41. Essex host Warwickshire, Notts, Worcester, Derby, Durham in this upcoming round of fixtures. Group 2, Rob, should we head to HQ?
Yeah, let's go and talk about that team that I called the best team in the country a few weeks ago that don't do very well until they go to HQ.
Absolutely. Well, everybody's getting a win against Middlesex, it seems, at the moment. So, yeah, Hampshire at Middlesex. Hampshire won this game by 7 wickets, and largely thanks to 11-wicket Kyle Abbott-inspired performance. 3-day win, another low-scoring game involving Middlesex, surprise, surprise. Ended with Hampshire knocking off a target of 66 in just 15 and a half overs. 34-year-old Keith Barker hit a first innings 84 to provide the platform for the mercurial Hampshire side. That have started strong, as you got on the bandwagon early, Rob, but have stumbled in the last couple or few weeks. It's a really, scores in this game, 172 Middlesex, 208 Hampshire, 101 all out for Middlesex, and then a 66 for 3 knocking off. A really, really poor game with the bat for everybody, apart from Keith Barker. James Vince got himself a half century, Nick Gubbins for Middlesex. But really, it's all about the bowlers, isn't it? Like we said, 11 wickets for Kyle Abbott. Again, 11 wickets in the game. We're not making a big deal about somebody taking 11 wickets in a game because it seems to be happening so often at the moment. Mohammed Abbas, 6 in the game as well. And Ethan Bamber, he's starting to do himself no harm at all with the wickets he's taken. He got 4 in the game. Middlesex just cannot score runs, Rob, and I don't know where they turn. Peter Hanscom's there now, the Aussie. and 24 lead top scorer in their second innings. I don't know where they're going to turn at the moment.
Mate, I'm going to call out Abbott and Abbas took 17 out of the 20 wickets for Hampshire, and that is the bulk of their attack. When they're on, they have won games. So more credit to them. They were impeccable around that off stumps, wickets, bowled, LBW, caught behind. They were doing it all. Middlesex, get the right sex right, are in an absolute dire strait, mate. They started off the season okay. They've won 2 of the games, but they've lost 4. They've got the highest losing percentage in county cricket. Out of the teams that's in the league, they average 184 per innings with the bat, which is the worst. A batting average of 20 per person, which is the worst. And the lowest amount of overs faced on average between any team. They only last 62.3 overs on average, which is horrendous. But they have the best bowling average against the team. So the teams against them only average 208. So they're complete Jekyll and Hyde. And all they've needed all season is just a little bit from the batting unit to support the incredible work the bowlers are doing week in, week out. And they just can't get across the line. They can't do it. They can't bat, Rich. They can't bloody bat.
Yeah. The thing, you're not asking them to hit 400 every innings either, are you? That's the point. If they could get up to 250, maybe 300, they're going to win games of cricket, but they just can't get away from those, low to middling 100 scores. It's just ordinary. It's simple as that. And I don't think we need to give them any more time.
Call out Hanscom. Hanscom,
yep.
Possibly, I spoke about him before the start of the season. He scored a load of white ball runs in Australia. Didn't score that many in Sheffield Shield. He's been bloody woeful, mate. 3 ducks from 7 innings that he's played in, 55 runs in total with the highest of 24. Seriously, mate, you could pay me a load of money and I might score 7 runs, but it's not going to make too much difference.
Yeah.
He's only scoring 160.
I'll take it back. I will just speak one more moment on Middlesex. And now you've mentioned Hanscom. It's a little bit tricky for him because he was given the captaincy and he was supposed to come over last year. He didn't. He's still got the captaincy. And he's not been part of this squad, but he's still been captain. So he's probably on the WhatsApp chats and all the rest of it with his players as skipper, but he's not been there. So it's been building up for a long, long time that he's going to come over. He's going to captain. He's going to score some runs. He's the Aussie overseas. And he's probably arrived and, struggling team. It's not like he can hide in the middle order whilst the, 3 or 4 people around him are scoring shed loads. He's sat there thinking, this is on me. Christ, build it up. Everyone's been expecting a lot from me for the last year and a half, before I've come over. So, yeah, a bit of pressure on him, but, I'm sure he's getting paid quite well. So,
it'll be all right.
Suck it up. Score some runs.
They could have done with the game down at Somerset, to be fair, couldn't they? They've taken that.
Exactly. They could have, yeah. Basically, 68 overs in a washout. That's all the cricket we got. But for England selectors and for Rory Burns, he at least had, his 50. He got a 55. Score in this one, his 5th 50 in 7 innings. We're going to start giving him the gritty title.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the Philadelphia Flyers mascot for anyone that knows what I'm talking about there. I'm talking about the Dean Elgar grittiness moniker. He's about to take it off him. He just keeps grinding out these scores. He's not really hit a big score.
Yeah.
But he's going to be happy with this. He's doing just enough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he'll be happy that they did get in those 68 overs. Ollie Pope, 33, he spent a little bit of time at the crease. Ben Foakes, 16, not out of 19 balls. Again, he's spent a bit of time at the crease. He would have wanted to really knuckle down and get a big score in this one. He started the season well, gone off the boil a little bit with the bat. He wants to make sure he's nailing down that spot in the test match. As for Somerset, Craig Overton and Jack Leach were both rested for this encounter. But basically, everyone had a rest, didn't they? So 9 points apiece. Somerset stay in second place, I believe, and Surrey are 4th. So that'll be that.
It's a funny one with Burns. If Burns had have transitioned, he's got a high score of 18. You talked about these 550s that he scored. If he'd scored 1 century out of these, you're just going, right, Rory Burns is the guy. He's averaging 50. He's scored it. But he's gritted them out. But I think some of the difference is, look at this game. Like, it's been rained off for 3 days or whatever it is. So it wouldn't have been easy work. But Surrey have the highest average first innings score in the league, 344 week in, week out, their average. But the bowling unit's 14th best. So I'd expect more from Burns. But if I'm going to pick someone in the squad now, it's not going to be Hassan Azad like I would have liked. Burns has probably done enough to be in that 17-man squad and get a knock, mate.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I don't want to go banging on the England selection drum again, but it's a bit frustrating because it does feel like we're going to go back to a Burns and Sibley opening partnership. And it just underwhelms. I've not got anything against either player. Either player deserve their call-ups and they deserve their opportunities. But it might be a blessing in disguise, actually. It's like, get them in then, and you've got 4 innings, lads. Hopefully you've got 4 innings if everything's even. Go and score runs, because I'm just a bit sick of it now. It's like they're both good players. They both, I'm sure, are good people. Burns has got questionable hair, but then I can't speak because I haven't got many left anyway. And what I have is gone white. So what happened to my blonde locks? But just go and score runs now. I'm sick and tired of seeing these conservative sort of gritty, grinding scores out. Just go and play with some freedom. Go and score some big runs. Come on, you're supposed to be an England opener. Have some confidence. Let's go.
Mark Waugh was talking about Rory Burns and Dominic Sibley opening the batting for England on the Fox Cricket lead up to the Ashes over here the other day.
Yeah.
And he said, if this is what Test cricket is, I don't want to watch it anymore.
Yeah, so, I think that's where I'm coming from. Yeah, I'm not saying it has to be T20, Jason Roy, but give me something.
Yeah, but to me, if they can go over there and bore them to death and bat time, learn to bat time, just grind them down.
Yeah. It's going to be a weird one, isn't it? Because we were desperately in need of an opening 2 or 3 that would bat time for England, because we just kept having those collapses. But I wonder if now we're getting the confidence and the experience in the likes of Pope and Lawrence, and 1 or 2 others, and obviously Root's playing a lot better cricket again in the last 6 months or so, 12 months even. I wonder if maybe we can start to think about freeing things up a little bit at the top, or maybe one of those top 3 anyway, someone a little bit more fluent than the 2 chaps that have been asked to take the job on. I mean, Gloucestershire, we've got to mention Gloucestershire at the very least. They've not played, but they're still 4 points clear, a game in hand on Somerset, Hampshire, Surrey and Middlesex, top of the table. Power rankings, I believe, your baby power rankings, number 1 still. Leicestershire, they've got a game in hand as well, and they're 4 points off Middlesex. So they are bottom still, but they're coming for Middlesex. I'm sure if they've all played the same games, we would be seeing Middlesex as probably the worst team in county cricket at the moment. But yes, Group 3, Rob, let's get on to it. More rain, match drawn, 2 drawn games in Group 3 this week. Leaders Yorkshire, they played against Glamorgan, and they put themselves in a pretty good position in the first innings after dismissing Glamorgan for 149. Harry Brook and Patterson were 3 wickets apiece. Joe Root got himself 99 before he chopped on a Dan Douthwaite delivery. Sounds like Dan Douthwaite should be playing for Yorkshire, doesn't he? He's got that sort of name.
Dan Douthwaite.
Douthwaite, chopped on a delivery. But for the host, 23-year-old, we've got to mention this guy, 23-year-old informed Kieran Carlson was unbeaten on 88 for Glamorgan in the second innings. His 6th half-century of the season. He an absolute talent. I think we spoke about him before. He was one of the youngest, I think he was the youngest player ever for Glamorgan to score 100 when he was about 17, 18 or something. I can't remember what it was. But he's a young guy. Read something about him this week. He's been doing his studies. He's been doing a university degree at the same time as playing. So ducking, when there's a rain delay, he's been going and doing a bit of coursework in one of the commercial boxes and whatnot. So he's very close to finishing his studies. And if he's doing this when he's still studying full time, then when the handbrake's off and he's putting his final piece of coursework, the sky could be the limit for this guy. He's up there in the leading run scorers in county cricket, and he is a name to properly keep an eye on. Kieran Carlson. A drawn game, Rob, not much to say. Michael Neese, 5 wickets for Glamorgan in Yorkshire's only innings. The old boy, another old boy in county cricket. He's still doing it, still doing the business.
Nice. Puts Yorkshire in the driving seat, really, a rained-off game. They don't lose anything. No one gains anything on them around trying to get that top 2 spot to be able to go and play in the Group 1 of the next stage before the next stage that comes after it. We have stages now, Rich. That's what.
Wow. Ooh. I like it.
Good news for Joe Root as well. Scoring runs, difficult conditions. His 99 goes with his 101 he made against Kent. I like this Yorkshire team. I put on Reddit the power rankings the other day. It had Yorkshire in 4, Glamorgan 1. And I got ripped to pieces because Yorkshire aren't higher. And you know what? They make a very, very valid point that they could be higher. The thing about this Yorkshire team is they do both things well enough. The average 258 runs per innings, which is 9th, so midway through between 18 teams. 232 against with the ball, which is the 5th best. So they're doing everything well. But what that gives you is result cricket. And Yorkshire are a results-driven team that's won 3 of the 6 games, and there's not many teams that's winning that amount. Glamorgan, they just kind of petered themselves into that Group 2 stage, middle tier of this group. Decent team, will probably be near the higher end of that second stage group thing that happens next.
Just where did I like the hand signals? Where did I have them in the rankings? Because we do, obviously, we both put a vote in, don't we? And then the average gets taken. Rob, where did I have Yorkshire? I think I had them higher than you.
You had them
didn't I?
third.
Yeah, okay, so that's not bad. That's not bad.
You had them third. I may have bogged them down a little bit by getting overly excited on the Durham train based on their high batting average and best bowling attack in the league.
Okay. Yeah, well, just before any Yorkshire folk could kick off too much, I had you higher. Let's just put it that way. And also, if they had a Middlesex record, they'd still think they should be in the top 5. It's Yorkshire after all, isn't it? They're, number 1 county in the world.
Number 1, best, would win the Olympics.
Exactly. Last game, let's get it wrapped up, Rob. Sussex-Kent. We started the pod talking about Sussex-Kent. We're going to end it talking about Sussex-Kent. This game started with so much excitement. I was giddy watching Jofra Archer steaming in at full pace, but this ended in yet another draw. Archer, as we said, he removed Bell Drummond and Zach Crawley early. We thought was going to have a great game. Kent dismissed for 145. Their troubles continued. Ollie Robinson, 3 wickets as well. George Garton, 3 wickets as well. He looks pretty good. Jack Carson, a name we mentioned again when we talk about the England selection. Probably not there yet, but not far off the young spinner. So game ended, obviously, we spoke about his elbow injury, but bottom side Kent, I just want to focus on them more, really. Sussex done 56. It was a bit of 52 for Van Zyl. Matt Quinn, he's on loan from Essex. He got 4 wickets. And a youngster, Nathan Gilchrist, who, nice game, 20-year-old, in his 3rd first-class game, he took 3 for 51, and he's took after 4 for 74 last week in his 2nd game. So Kent bowling better. They dismissed Sussex, but with the bat, they turned things around, Rob. 387 for 4 in the 2nd innings to take this to a draw. Zach Crawley, England watch, 85. Great to see. Again, a bit like Dan Lawrence, he scored some runs at the right time. Jack Leaning with his 2nd century in the last 3 or 4 years, I think it is, 127 not out. And the other Ollie Robinson, a game which saw 2 Ollie Robinsons play. The young wicketkeeper for Kent, Ollie Robinson got 85 as well. So great to see some resistance from Kent, some plenty of fight as well. They've had a really tough season, but with the ball, they did pretty well. And with the bat in the 2nd innings, they certainly... it's probably one of their best performances of the season so far.
Yeah, it is. And it's got to be said, it's been a pretty dour season for them. 3 losses, 3 draws, lost 50% of the games. Only Leicester, who are a horrendous bowling attack, and Middlesex losing 83% of their games have got a worse record at the moment. It is the bowling that's caused them problems throughout the season, unfortunately. They go at 307 against them on average, 1st and 2nd innings combined, which is 17th worst in the division. Only Leicester with 7,000 are in a worse position. But it's good to see the batting kind of come together. Good to see Zach Crawley scoring runs. He's been one of their more consistent players. However, we talk about England players. He's not set the world alight. He's not got that 100 that kind of takes him through to that next stage. But you know, his body of work over the last 18 months as an England cricketer is by far good enough to get him in there. And hopefully he'll come in steaming, ready to go. Sussex have got a bit to play for left in this stage. I'm going stage of the season. 61.7 behind Northants. They need a win from somewhere, mate. They really do need a win. And I'm not quite sure where it's going to come from just yet.
No, it's a competitive group, isn't it? I mean, Yorkshire, Lancashire, they look like they're speeding off ahead, don't they? It's simple as that. It's a sort of a 2-tier or a 3-tier group, this one, with Kent being right at the bottom. But Yorkshire and Lancashire looking solid in this one. Next week, Yorkshire have a week off, so does Sussex. Northampton against Lancashire, Kent against Glamorgan in Group 3. Just quickly, I was just looking at the stats. Kieran Carlson, who I said keep an eye on, he's 2nd leading run scorer in county cricket at the moment, 552 runs, just behind that run machine David Beddingham that had a pretty quiet game for Durham this week. So that's why you want to keep an eye on him.
That's incredible. He kind of has gone under the radar, hasn't he? Because his high score's 132, And that's nothing against scoring 132. It's just David Begnan got a 257 and Jake Libby's got his 180 not out and Ollie Pope's got a 245. These big, like, wow, what is going on with the world? Or a Rob Yates getting 120 not out to win a game, even though he's not done much else other than one of the century. But it kind of has gone under the radar. But he's right up there. It's about 20% of the team's runs on the season. Daniel Bednam, top run scorer in the league, 624. He's got the highest percentage of runs for his team, around 24%. So they rely so heavily on him. But good to see him. Good to see him right up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the run scorers, Tom Wesley, he played for England, had a little bit of a go for England. I'm not going to start suggesting England at all, but he's scored 493 runs now, high score 213. 3 centuries. He's the only player, apart from Sam Evans at Leicestershire, I believe, that has 3 centuries this season. So that's pretty impressive. Again, under the radar player. I'd just like to also say that Adam Live is dropping down. He's now the 4th highest leading run scorer. Just saying. Shouldn't be popular. Matt Critchley's right up there as well, mate. Yeah, I like Adam Live. Don't get me wrong. I'm not believing the hype of him at 33 points.
Top wicket taker. We've got to name him one more time. Harmer.
Always.
Top wicket taker. It's a bit like, you remember when, was it Saqlain Mushtaq came over and was just top wicket taker every single year that he played over here. Simon Harmer's that. One of his teammates called him the best spinner in the world this week, which is you can't question it. He's not played international cricket, so you can't measure him at that level. But why can't he play international cricket? He's obviously a very, very talented individual.
Yeah, I mean, age and passport, age and residency, all that sort of stuff is holding against him, isn't it? But who knows? It's such a shame that he's not been able to play like this. That's clearly got talent that has not been able to play internationally and put himself against the top players. If people are wondering why Craig Overton and Ollie Robinson keep getting mentioned and potentially might see their names in the England squad that gets announced today, well, Overton secondly, we can take it with 32 at 13.96 and Robinson has 29 at 14.72. That's why. They're both going to be in
exactly
England.
Why.
That's why.
That's useful. And Christian Rushworth, really 26 wickets at 16. Just useful. Yeah. I love the word useful. Rich, we've got 2 more minutes left of the podcast today. And I see you've got something a little bit special, a little bit different to end the podcast.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm just wondering whether or not to drop it and talk about something else. But I'll go with this and then we'll pick up something at another day that I've just seen come through on my phone. But you've had some shocking bats over the years. One of our good friends sold you a complete duff that was basically a piece of, well, I don't even want to disrespect balsa wood, but it was about the width of a pencil case.
Yeah.
But what about a bamboo bat, Rob? Fancy one?
You know what? If it was a bit wider, it might help me.
Well, it won't be. That's the thing. But it's been in the news, hasn't it, this week? But I thought just in case people haven't heard this, let's just let you be informed. Cambridge University study has indicated that a prototype bamboo cricket bat has a larger sweet spot, interested, than a traditional willow blade. It's stronger, more sustainable, eco, and cheaper to produce. It also seems to not go so well off the edges. I mean, what is not to love? Dr. Darshil Shah of Cambridge Centre for Natural Material Innovation, who is a former member of Thailand's under-19 national cricket team.
Wow.
Yeah, we talk about it all here. He's described this prototype as a batsman's dream.
Wow.
So I like the sound of this so far. Lower cost could boost participation in countries such as India and China, which have fewer financial resources, obviously, with the masses. A lot of cricket bats are made in the likes of India at the moment, but it's English willow that's cut, shipped over to India and then turned into cricket bats and shipped back over to England and other places. So if there is a material that it grows basically next to their factories over there, what a fantastic resource. Use it. Yeah. It cuts out a lot of journeys, makes a lot of sense. Obviously, there are British bat manufacturers. Use one locally, B3 Knots, great bat company. You don't have to have these bats that go shipped all over the world, but this is a really interesting development. However, before I let you jump in and have your say, bats generally use British willow. Okay, so if we was to use a bamboo bat, we would have to change the MCC law 5.3.2, which simply states that the blade of the bat must consist solely of wood. Obviously, that's how they're going to sound. And as bamboo is a grass, Rob, there is no allowance for bamboo bats just yet, according to Marylebone Cricket Club.
I tell you what, mate, you learn something new every day. I would have said that bamboo were wood, but I'm not the sharpest tool in the box.
Obviously, it's a grass.
Yeah, mate. Tomatoes are fruit as well. Yeah. It is.
Yeah, so fancy one?
I don't see anything wrong with exploring what can change in the game to be environmentally friendly. Joe Root's come out and said it's quite scary that cricket might be played indoors in 30 years' time because of climate change. This is something that's going to help. It's I'm all for investigation into seeing if things can be done better or different. Just because something's been done the way it's been done doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, cricket is a game of tradition, obviously, so it's going to be a lot of resistance, I'm sure, by those at their headquarters. The other thing holding back the bat as well, it's laminated, so it's not just a solid lump of wood like a willow is. They do laminate, so it's sections. So if anyone's got a bamboo fruit bowl or something that they've bought from IKEA or a chopping board, you'll see those little sections. Yeah. Those apparently the blocks are all put together and then they're sent off to be turned into bats, but they have to be built up into a block first, rather than a tree being taken down into a block. So that's the other thing that they need to overcome. I'm not going to get into it now, Rob, because I know that you need to hop off. But I just want to say, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark, Josh Hazelwood and Nathan Lyon, the Cape Town Four that have been implicated in the sandpaper gate, have come out and put a statement out today, basically just saying that they pride themselves on their honesty. So it's been disappointing to see that our integrity has been questioned by some journalists and past players in recent days in regard to the Cape Town Test of 2018. We did not know a foreign substance was taken onto the field to alter the condition of the ball until we saw the images on the big screen at Newlands. They go on. And I'm sure we can talk about that more in the next one. But I thought, just as we've spoken about it, let's give them their say. Innocent, not me, Gov. I didn't know anything about it.
Of course they're going to come out and say that. I hope there's further investigations into it and we start to find out. Where's the line of duty? Get the corruption out. AC-12 on the job.
I don't like bent bowlers.
I hate bent coppers. I'm in this for one reason only.
Weeding out sandpapers.
It's good, mate. Cricket this weekend. You're playing again?
Should be. Weather permitting. Forecast is rain every day, but it has been for the last couple of weeks. So, hey-ho, we'll get there.
Nicely done, mate. Well, enjoy. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Make sure you subscribe if you are brand new and you have enjoyed yourself. Until next time.